This is a story about a young lad named Paul Morin. Born in the early 1940s in Toronto, he lived with my aunt and uncle, Virginia Morin Brioux, and her husband, Rudy Morin. For several years, they all lived at my grandfather, William Brioux's house at 28 Wilgar Road in Etobicoke. The neighborhood they all moved into, the Kingsway, is so new when this film was shot, the streets weren't even paved yet. Paul, like many boys his age, loved anything with wheels on it. Wagons, toy trains, even this very cool Indian Scout motorcycle. This would come into play years later when Paul, like his cousin Norm, chose a career in stock car racing. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. The year was 1946, and this is Paul's Christmas. Back in 1946, you couldn't look up the Santa Claus parade on Google. You had to use something called a newspaper. You couldn't send Santa your wish list in an email either. Back in 1946, you had to do things old school. You had to get your sled, ask your dad to pull you to a neighborhood mailbox, and mail a letter. Toronto's Santa Claus Parade is the oldest and largest in North America. It began in 1905 as a promotion for Eaton's, once Canada's largest department store chain. Going to the parade was an annual Christmas ritual for many families. A fair number of the floats were themed after nursery rhymes, such as Mother Goose and Humpty Dumpty. Over the years, the parade took many routes as it traveled through the streets of Toronto. Here it's traveling south on University Avenue near Dundas Street, with floats, marching bands, and upside-down clowns traveling past the old McLean Hunter building. Santa himself always ended the parade waving to kids on his way into Eaton's. If you grew up in Toronto's West End in the mid-1940s, and the decades before and after, one of the great winter thrills was to go tobogganing in High Park. Here Paul is dragging his sled into a late 30s Ford coupe, likely owned by my dad, the cameraman. That's Paul's cousin, Norm Brioux, 18 at the time, unloading the sleigh. The little girl to the left, we think, is Norm's younger sister, Charmaine. The toboggan runs ran down towards High Park's Grenadier Pond, which was skated on when it was frozen over. For much of the 20th century, this was part of the winter scene in Toronto. That is, before the internet and insurance companies stole all the fun. As Christmas drew near, Paul was taken once again downtown to Eaton's department store. He was too late, however, to sit on Santa's lap. St. Nick had already left for the North Pole. Paul was able, however, to look at the colorful animated displays that entertained shoppers every December in the store's large windows on Yonge Street. Finally, it was the night before Christmas. Paul hung his sock up on the mantel with care, then blew the elves a kiss. The next morning, he made his way down the steps to the front room where several gifts were waiting under the tree. What should he find but every young boy's dream in 1946, an HO model electric train set. It came complete with a cool Union Station terminal building made by Mark's Toys, a collectible item well into the 21st century. Paul got other gifts, of course, practical things such as, well, a new pair of slippers. And what kid doesn't like a paper noisemaker? That Christmas of 1946, however, nothing could top a model train. And the gift of learning how to bring it to a stop all by yourself? Priceless. Even young boys have to put their toys away and wash up for Christmas dinner. This would have been the first Christmas at home in a while for my dad, the cameraman, discharged from the Canadian Army and back from France and Germany earlier that year. His gift that December was capturing Paul's Christmas on film.